wants to be a millionaire.
Night Nurse, take one. Hello and welcome to Long Live Hooky Street, the podcast where we rewatch and discuss every episode of Britain's most beloved TV comedy, Only Fools and Horses. I'm Heather and I'm joined from Denver, Colorado by my co-host and sister Jenny. Say hello, dude.
Hello.
Today we are discussing Series 5, Episode 5, Video Nasty. So grab a Spanish omelette and let's get started.
This episode aired on the BBC at 8:35 p.m. on Sunday, September 28th, 1986. Viewing figures went up to 17.5 million this week, so now it's in second place for the highest number of viewers, still slightly below Sleeping Dogs Lie. For the UK number one song, we still have Don't Leave Me This Way by the Communards, and we still have the Aliens movie at the top of the UK box office. A few little interesting episode facts. Ray Butt returned as the director for this and the next episode. Since they were fully studio-bound episodes, it was much less strain on his workload. The idea for this episode was inspired by the largesse of the Greater London Council. John Sullivan said Ken Livingstone, the head of the GLC at the time, had given out money to various art classes to make minority films, and the papers and people were complaining that it was a waste of money. Rodney is a bit arty, and John Sullivan said this would have been right up his street. Boise's infertility storyline comes to a front in this episode, and many will remember the scene where Del labels him a Jaffa. This led to John Sullivan receiving a number of complaints from viewers, labelling the term insensitive. Sullivan did write back to these fans and explain that the joke was just meant to make Boise uncomfortable and not meant to hurt anyone. This episode marks the first mention, but not appearance, of the Driscoll brothers. Video nasty is a colloquial term popularised by the National Viewers and Listeners Association in the United Kingdom to refer to a number of films, typically low-budget horror or exploitation films, distributed on videocassette in the early 1980s that were criticised by the press, social commentators, and various religious organisations for their violent content.
I collected them.
Yeah. Here we get the first appearance of Boise and Marlene since From Prussia with Love, so we can see that they have forgiven Del for the baby selling debacle. This is also the first time that Marlene is in scenes with other side characters like Mike and Trigger. Similarly to Teeth of 3, this episode is another example of the crew trying to use different camera angles in the pub set to better utilise the space. We don't have too many episodes left now before the entire set was rebuilt to show the bar from the side, as we know. First appearance in Dates. And finally, this episode opens on a conversation between Boise and Trigger, followed soon by Mike, where no members of the Trotter family are in the pub. This is the first time in Only Fools and Horses that this was ever done. I'll have more trivia to scatter throughout the episode, but shall we move on to our episode rankings for today, dude?
Yeah, let's do it. So regular listeners will know by now, each week we reveal and compare our rankings for the episode, and prior to recording the entire podcast, we independently ranked all 64 episodes. If you didn't know that, then you are not yet one of our regular punters, so we would love for you to subscribe to the podcast. We release a new episode every Saturday. I shall guess your ranking this week. I think you've ranked this somewhere in the 20s.
Okay, that is incorrect, but
oh, crap.
I was going to say that you probably have as well. I don't know. I'll preface this by saying I think we're going to be in the minority here, or at least I know I am. People don't tend to like this episode. It's always one that comes up on the, I skipped this one, or this one doesn't make sense to me, or I know people don't like it. How about, is yours in the 20s?
No.
Okay. 30s?
Yes.
Mine's in the 30s. Okay.
Yours in 30s.
I guess yours is...
So do you want to say yours?
Okay, yeah, mine is 36.
Okay. So sort of mid-30s.
Yeah.
I'm guessing because of the nostalgia
Yeah.
attached to this episode for both of us that we've ranked it there. I think we would have probably both put it lower if it hadn't been for the nostalgia attached, although there is one outstanding part of this episode that made me rank it higher.
Let's say...
So let me tell you my ranking. So my ranking is 31.
Okay, similar. Yeah.
Yeah, similar. So, yeah, I think we both know the scene we're talking about, the rhino loose in the city scene.
Yeah, so if it weren't for that scene, let's say that scene was not in this episode, I'm guessing this episode would... people already rank it low. I'll just tell you that the IMDb ranking for this one is 57. People always say bad stuff about this episode as a whole. So if it didn't have the rhino loose in the city scene, I don't know what people would say about it. It never occurred to me the downfalls or the bad parts of this episode, because I loved it so much as a kid, because we had it on VHS and we rewatched it.
Yeah.
And we loved it, and we had all the quotes, and it's pretty funny to think that little kids, like 6 or 7-year-old kids, were going,
I was about to
"Nightmares."
say, I think that's because the only part of this episode that I understood as a kid was the Rhino losing the city conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't understand any of the stuff with Boise and Marlene's fertility issues, and I didn't understand any of the references to porn at all. I didn't know what a porn movie was. So all of that stuff, yeah, it went over my head. And again, when you're a kid, you tend to just kind of laugh at stuff for the sake of laughing at stuff, which we spoke about in previous episodes. So yeah, I think that is the reason. But yes, Video Nasty does hold a lot of nostalgia for us. As you said, it's like up there with like The Miracle of Peckham, with how many times we watched this as a kid. It was one of our sort of regular ones, and probably another one that I could literally read the entire script back to you without having to look at anything.
Yeah,
so
me too.
Yeah.
Like, just watching it, it like plays in my head. I watched it so much as a kid, and exactly like you, I did not understand what Mickey was doing making that movie. I didn't understand what they were watching at the end. I did not understand the infertility stuff. So I think we always enjoyed the visuals and the characters and the voices and the laughter of the audience made us laugh. I don't know what it is. I don't hate this episode at all. I don't skip it.
No.
I don't over pull it apart and oh, that's silly, like that Del doesn't recognize his own flat and stuff. Like, I don't. And it's totally valid that a lot of people dislike it for those reasons. And I can see that it does actually slip away from familiar territory for a lot of the fans.
I agree with you. I think the thing that I thought after rewatching it for this podcast is that actually, again, it's kind of like 2 separate episodes almost. You've got this storyline with the film and the story, which is a good couple of scenes are spent on that. And then it's over halfway through the episode when the Mickey making the porn movie stuff comes up and the deal that Boise's got with the Driscoll brothers. I mean, it's hinted at a little bit at the beginning, but it doesn't really get going. Don't get going, does it? Until like later in the episode. So it's one of those episodes where it's like it feels like 2 plots kind of smushed together, and that's not always a bad thing. Like, I spoke very highly of As One Door Closes for that reason, that it had a shift in the middle of the episode, but I think that was done a lot better than maybe this one was. And of course, it's always a bit creepy to me, a load of like older guys in a room watching like porn in the middle of the day. I'm not sure if that's correct.
And an anniversary party.
So I think there's maybe being older and looking at that, I'm a bit like, ugh, gross. But yeah, I think that the first part of the episode is definitely quite strong, and then especially the scene with the Rhino loose in the city, which I think what everyone remembers from this episode anyway.
And but just going off what you said, because it's important to highlight that when the episodes were only 30 minutes, there aren't many episodes that tackle 2 plot lines, because a lot of the earlier ones do just the one linear story. And as he got into series 5, John Sullivan started doing that. He did it with The Miracle of Peckham, and it's very tricky in 30 minutes, because we know that he always overwrote the script to do justice to more than one storyline. And I guess in this episode, it struggled. But it wasn't that they were going to make a whole episode about Mickey Pearce screwing over the Driscoll brothers, because that wouldn't have been a Trotter storyline. So he's bringing in the other characters and he's fleshing them out and he's giving them more plots, and I think that's great. But yes, you can see this was just the early days of that, and once he got longer in his episode times, he was able to do it much better. So if you look at it from that point of view, you can't criticize it too much. It was basically like these few series where they started doing that was a bit of a trial, really, for the thicker plot lines and the other characters being involved more. Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. But I think if I were to sort of have a chance to, let's say, rewrite this episode, I would have spent the entire episode about Rodney's film, and I actually would have shown some of that being made, because I think that would have been hilarious, especially with cameos from like Trigger and Mike trying to act. It would have been really funny. So it's a shame that we didn't get to see that. And obviously we know, spoiler alert, at the end that he does end up choosing Del's story to make the movie The Rhino Loose in the City. So that would have been hilarious watching them trying to film that. Yeah. Obviously they wouldn't have been able to use a rhino, but even stuff around it, like who was playing the Charlton Heston character, who was playing the sexy zookeeper, like maybe Marlene would have played that. It would have been really funny to see that. So it's a shame we didn't get that. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so having said all that, shall we go ahead and start the episode breakdown? So we start in the Nag's Head, and as Jenny mentioned earlier, we have a scene with Boise and Trigger playing cards. No trotters in this opening scene here. Yet. Boise is speaking about Marlene not being able to have kids with Trigger. Interesting person to speak about it too, but anyway.
And he speaks about how many tests he's having at the hospital.
I mean, she's the one with a problem. Why have I got to go?
I think it was quite common in the past for men to assume that it was always the woman's issue if they couldn't have kids. I think that's quite a stereotype.
I think now too.
Oh, really?
It is, but the assumption is always that the woman is the problem. Everybody jumps to that conclusion. And yes, I can't remember the statistic because I read this when I was doing my studying. There is a statistic for how often it's the man and the female, male or the female, but it's actually, I think, equal amounts of time, like statistically.
Yeah.
And then
that would make sense.
There's like a percentage unknown and then a percentage male or female. So it's very common for it to be either.
Yeah, I think it's I guess it's quite a sexist angle to come at it from. The people assume it's the woman, but I guess there's a lot of women that assume it's the man as well. So, it works both ways. So Trigger talks about not knowing who his father was, but trying to defend his mother, which leads to Boise pointing out what it says on his birth certificate.
What did she put down under father's name?
Some soldiers.
Okay, I have 2 questions. Did people have to show their birth certificates to each other at school in the old days? Because I don't think I've ever seen any of my friends' birth certificates. And the other thing I wanted to ask is this is confirmation, or want to state, this is confirmation that Boise was at school with Trigger and Del. Because when we were reviewing May the Force Be With You, we questioned if Boise was actually at school with them because he wasn't mentioned in any of the memories that Roy Slater had. It was only Trigger that was mentioned. But this kind of confirms that Boise was at school with Trigger.
That's a great catch, yeah. I think this could be the first time that that's actually said. I think, have they mentioned Boise and Del, though, before? And then they mentioned Del and Trigger? I can't remember if there's a Boise and Del reference.
I don't feel like we've specifically said that Del and Boise went to school together yet. It's obviously very clear when we get to the class of 62 because they're all at the reunion together. That's like the most stated sort of way that they do it. But yeah, this is confirmation, surely.
Yeah.
Because he said, "What did at school when I saw your birth certificate?" So,
right. I think this is the first time that we get it like laid out for us. I think you're totally right about that. Yeah. And no, I don't. I've never seen any of my friends' birth certificates. I've barely seen my own. No. I have got mine.
I was going to say I've got mine as well, but I don't see mine either. It's very strange, isn't it? So we find out that Del has gone to the zoo. Mickey is at the bar with Amanda, who is an important character in this episode's plot.
Yeah, well, you know how it is, Mike. Every so often a person fancies a bit of rough.
And she picked you.
Yeah, that's a joke, isn't it? I remember you said something funny a couple of years ago.
I find Mickey's comeback super awkward to that part because it doesn't even get a laugh. It's like it goes on too long. Like, it doesn't get any laughs at all, that line.
I always thought that was funny. I didn't realise, because it shows that Mickey's awkward and he's not very good at comebacks. I always thought that was like a good character.
It suits the character, but this is what I mean. But it's interesting because like there's zero laughter from the audience on that line. So it's almost like a bit awkward even for the audience that no one laughs at that line.
That's just a part of being in the front of the live studio audience, isn't it? Sometimes things don't get a laugh when they should. I think the audience think that Mickey's funny.
I mean, it's a generic comeback, so that's probably why there was no pizzazz to that comeback. It was just very generic. So Rodney turns up and Mickey tells Rodney that he's been working for Boise selling pirate films and naughties. For anyone that doesn't know what a naughty is, it's a porn film. And Boise has been selling pirate films ever since the May the Force Be With You, actually. Another mention back to that episode.
Yeah.
Because that's when it's first mentioned. That
Mutiny on the Bounty.
Yeah.
The other one. I can't remember what the other one is.
Oh yeah, Treasure Island, Mutiny on the Bounty. Oh, yeah, that's it. So Boise obviously has had this business going for quite some time because this is series 3 that he started it. So Rodney tells Mickey he has been at his evening class, and I put, what evening class is this? I don't remember any reference before that Rodney's going to evening classes. This seems to be something that they kind of just drop in when it's needed, but it's obviously Rodney going back into education, I would have thought would have been a storyline in itself, like it is in Yuppie Love.
Well, so
yeah,
interestingly, just because I'm already working on the script for Yuppie Love, I noticed a quote from John Sullivan that having him go to evening classes in Yuppie Love is part of the new, like, more serious storyline that they start for him. Rodney wants to make a better life for himself, so he makes a conscious decision to go back to school, and he starts evening classes in that episode. But it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Because we're all like this as humans, that he was like dabbling with that idea for a long time, and maybe he took a couple of other little classes here and there just because Rodney always had that drive to do something better for himself. He tended to fail, but he kept on trying. So it does make sense that in the early days they were like, oh yeah, he did this old video class or this art class or whatever.
I mean, it does make sense what you're saying, absolutely. But this evening class that he's attending he's obviously been going a while, because he says Mickey came to one of his classes, which I'll get into in a minute. And also they pick him to be in charge of this huge project. Right. I've made 3 movies in my life. I did one for my thesis at university, and I can tell you it is a massive undertaking. Even if you do it on a small scale, it is one of the most time-consuming things you will ever do, is make a movie. So I can't believe that this is something he's just dabbling in when he's putting all that time and effort into something like this.
Just to go back to what I said in the trivia, that John Sullivan pulled this idea from reality and what was actually happening. That's probably why there were so many complaints about the council funding being used for this kind of stuff, because they didn't take it seriously. It's not like a thesis or a university class. They're just like throwing council money around on silly projects. I think that's kind of more what it's supposed to be hinted at. I don't think that Rodney is necessarily getting picked because of his skill or his like commitment. I think it's just, I mean, if Mickey could just dip in as well and just take a class and then leave, I don't think it's a very serious program.
Well, yeah, and also you also bring up a great point there, that how are people that aren't in the evening class allowed to be a part of the project?
Yeah.
I mean, he's chosen Mickey to direct it. Surely there was someone in the class that would have wanted to direct it.
Yes, I'm sure.
It's a bit strange.
Second in line, Rodney was commissioned to make the film. There would have been all the other students in theory wanting to do that. So yeah, it doesn't like paint the idea of a very serious class, let's put it that way.
No, that's true. But when there's money involved, I always assume things are serious. But anyway, so he tells Mickey they've got a grant to make a community film and Rodney is in charge. Mickey wants to get involved.
I'm a member of your art class, isn't I? Oh, come off it, Mickey. You only came one night. That's only because I told you we had a new model.
Yeah, well, I thought it'd be a bird anyway.
I could see Mickey going just for that reason.
Yeah.
So Mickey suggests that Rodney writes it. And here we find out that Rodney actually wrote a book.
Yeah,
at some point,
the indictment.
called The Indictment some years back. So Mickey must have read it. As he says, it would have made a great book. And it was a bit strange.
A film. Great film.
No, he said it would have made a great book.
Well, it was a book.
I think he says... Yeah, that's why I was confused with that quote. I'm fairly certain he says, that would have made a great book, Rodney. I'm fairly certain that he says book, implying, I think, that he should have published it. I think that's what he means by it would have made a great book. It means you didn't publish it. Right. Of course, it was already a book, but it wasn't published. And he says it was a bit strange. So yeah, he read that book of Rodney's, presumably.
Yeah.
Because he has that feedback.
That's kind of nice that he read his book. Do you have any idea how nice it is to get a friend to actually read your work?
Or listen to a podcast?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I think, yeah, like Rodney's written a book. That is a huge achievement.
Yeah. Aww.
I mean, my God, like what a massive thing to do. I've been wanting to write a book my whole life and I've never gotten around to it. I've started a few,
and Del
like,
threw it down the chute.
Yes, exactly. I mean, again, that's just awful. I wrote something about that later.
Yeah.
So Del enters with Albert and they're in an argument about the work they've been doing at the zoo. And we get an elaborate explanation for how the job came about.
You see, Abdul's cousin's girlfriend's brother's mate's mate, right? He's a gamekeeper down at one of them private zoos. And Monkey Harris's sister's husband's first wife's stepfather, right? He works for an animal food company. So put the two together, what you got? Nice little earner.
I noticed that quote is not as long in the script. It's only like 3 removals from the person Del's talking about. David Jason must have hammed it up.
Oh, that's really clever because I love how quickly he connects everything together, like he knows it by heart. It's brilliant. Yeah, really clever.
He embellished it for sure.
Yes, that makes sense. So yeah, another mention of Abdul here. So obviously Del and Abdul still friends after everything that happened in Hull and Back.
Yeah.
And you can see the effort that Del goes to in order to make money here. I mean, that deal with all the elaborate connections must have taken a long time to set up, and he's fine with it, you know, just to make a bit of money. Nice little earner. So Rodney announces to the rest of them, everyone else in the pub, so this is Boise, Trigger, Del, Albert, and Mike, that he has been
commissioned to make a film.
And they all laugh at him with a great one-liner from Boise.
I have heard rumours Mickey Mouse wears a Rodney Trotter wristwatch.
I also like Del's reaction to that where he says, I like it, Boise. Rodney says he will write it and Mickey Pearce will direct. So Del brings up the indictment again.
The indictment.
To be fair, I wouldn't have known how to pronounce that when I was a kid, although as an adult, yes. And we find out, as you say, Del actually threw it down the chute.
Aww.
Del threw Rodney's book that he must have handwritten and spent a long time on down the chute, which I just put is so harsh. I would be furious if someone did that to me. So yeah, again, Rodney seems to forgive so much of Del. So they all continue to mock Rodney, and the scene ends with Albert's line.
That's a shrewd move on your part, Rodney. You're the writer, Mickey's the director, so he gets the casting couch and you get the biro.
So, any notes on that scene, dude?
A few notes, yeah. So I actually did just point out that this is the first time we've actually seen Mickey being encouraging to Rodney and being like a friend to him. Now, yeah, you could argue that he's going to exploit him, but it's the first time he's been nice and been like, that was a great book, Rodney. Like, he's actually really nice.
True.
So I always like it when people are getting along and working together. Lame.
It's lame to be a good person in this world.
So call back to Boise at the beginning and how he's always cheating at cards, but he doesn't get angry at Trigger for the insinuation at all. So it's like we can see here how far past the losing streak they are. Like there's been a lot of jokes about them cheating in the pub at cards and since the losing streak. So because the losing streak was so serious, you know, like there's all that money at stake and the Trotter's livelihood and stuff. So you can see that it's just a joke now, which is cool. I put a little note here about Amanda because she appears first in this scene. So she was played by actress Dawn Perlman. She said that she had great memories of being on the set and watching the rehearsals for the infamous Rhino Loose in the City scene. She had a quote, "I can still remember watching David and Buster acting with Nick in front of that typewriter as they got their Rhino story out. Just to watch the three of them act that scene, it was genius and so funny." Can you imagine having that as a memory? That's like such a great memory.
Oh my God. I mean, we have a great memory of just watching it in the episode. I mean, to actually have seen it live would have been something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought of this as you said it. I don't think an American would know what you meant by biro. I haven't heard that term in so many years. I think that's like an Englishism.
So we go to the Trotter flat, and Rodney is sitting at the table in the flat with blank pieces of paper in front of him. Clearly, he's having some trouble writing any of his story. Del enters with a present, and it's a typewriter, which he plonks down on the table in front of Rodney.
Well, yes, typewriter, isn't it?
You see that, Albert? He recognised it straight away. That's the author in it.
Rodney doesn't seem very happy about the gift. So Del loads it up with paper for Rodney to test it. And it seems that in order to make any impression on the paper, that you need to
Give it a good whack.
I cannot imagine how painful your fingers would be after using that typewriter for just a short time. Del really punches it hard. I mean, imagine every single letter having to do that. It's crazy. Del and Albert say,
Away you go then.
Yeah, be creative.
There are certain things a writer needs before he can actually start writing. Like a story.
Leading to one of the most famous scenes in Only Fools and Horses. So Jenny and I had already discussed this, but I'll break it down now. So Del offers Rodney an idea, which he refuses. And Del guilt trips him into letting him say what his idea is.
It's called There's a Rhino Loose in the City.
What's it about, Del?
Now Del describes his story with Rodney finding fault at every turn.
Well, if you've got a rhinoceros, right, and one day it ain't there, you tend to know it's missing.
This entire conversation is absolutely hilarious, and it ends with a fantastic line from Rodney really summing up how stupid Del's idea is.
Oh, this is something... A rhinoceros has escaped from the zoo. There are 300 dead bodies covered in rhinoceros footprints. There's a lock-up garage 2.5 foot deep in rhinoceros crap, and Charlton Heston suspects the butler.
So yeah, I cannot fault that entire exchange. I just love that Rodney's got a comeback for every single thing that Del says. It's brilliant. Even Albert has a go with the vampire rhino. It's just great. So Del's approach to writing movies, I note, is what I imagine movie studios do in the modern age, because most movies I've seen over the last 10 years seem to have not thought out their plots very thoroughly, and they probably need someone like Rodney in the meeting room to spot all the plot holes like he does for Del here. I feel like a lot of movies these days have got big gaping holes that you could pull apart the plot and point something really simple out and it would destroy the whole thing. So I think it's really good back in the old days when people seem to really think their plots through before they put them to production.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote here as one of my notes that John Sullivan had writer's block himself, and that was what inspired this storyline for Rodney. And he said that he dealt with people like Del all the time who would come up to him like with these super enthusiastic ideas, and they would think they were amazing, but they were not that great. So he said Del would be one of those people because he thinks he can turn his head to anything at the drop of a hat. And it's right,
Yeah.
like Dell's just one of those people who's like, yeah, I got a movie. I'm great. I could do this. I've got the story. I've got all the plot holes covered. Yeah, he is exactly the kind of person that writers probably struggle with because they come along and think they can just fix your story just like that.
Well, again, it's thinking of something that's just fun, but not actually thinking through the baseline of the plot to make it fun. Because when things can be picked apart so easily, I think the fun goes out of it.
Yeah,
for
sure.
me personally.
Yeah, just like we're doing now.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a great line here where Del says,
I mean, look, this is a disaster movie.
Disaster, it's a calamity, guys.
so I really love it when Rodney's tone changes and he starts talking to Del like he's an idiot for not knowing factual information about rhinos.
No, rhinoceroses aren't carnivorous, they're vegetarian.
Del gets very frustrated with Rodney, ending with,
So what are you suggesting? We call the film There's a Rhino Loose somewhere out in the sticks where no sod lives.
So Del appears to give up after Rodney rejects the story, but he has one last stab at getting Rodney on board.
No, that's the beauty of it, Rodney. I know where there's a rhinoceros going cheap.
So it seems Del only suggested this idea because he knew that he could get hold of a rhino, probably to make money somehow, which is very in character. So there's an awful attempt, I'll not say much about it now, to recreate this scene in one of the 2000s episodes, but we'll come to that later.
Oh, you mean Harry Trotter? I think you're right. I think that they definitely looked back at this and thought this was... Because I was going to point out, again, that everybody says this scene is the strength of this episode, right? But they're trying to do a bunch of other physical comedy and other plots. But the truth is that when it comes down to it, the writing of a round-the-table scene with just the three trotters is the highlight of the episode. So, in a way, it does highlight that John Sullivan's strength really was the stage play-like scenes, but that's fine. That was his best, where he was at his best.
I was going to say, to be fair, we said something similar about watching the girls go by.
We did.
That scene at the table where they're all just talking is the highlight of the whole episode.
Yeah. But nowadays, I mean, I don't want to be like one of those old people who's like, oh, like kids nowadays don't. But like
I do.
Attention span is a problem now. And a lot of people would not be interested in watching a conversational comedy. They want quick scene changes. They want comedy, physical acting. They want all this stuff. I personally, I still think some of the best scenes of Only Fools and Horses are the long dialogue scenes.
But of course, it all works together because those scenes would be terrible if they weren't being portrayed by amazing actors.
Yeah, it's all to do with the actors.
Yeah, actors and writing together are just fantastic in this show, and that's something that you rarely get together these days. It's either good writing and not great acting, or great acting with bad writing.
Yeah,
usually the latter, to be honest, a lot of the time.
Right.
So, any notes on that scene, dude?
Yeah, so I just want to highlight a couple of my favourite lines from the scene just so that they make sure that we don't leave them out, because I know everyone's going to have their favourite line.
The detective does find it, only it's at night.
And the rhino's gone out.
I love Albert's enthusiasm for Del's idea. It's absolutely hilarious.
Yes, so do I. He's so supportive. Yeah.
And when Del mentions that we ditch the locked up garage and we make him hide in the back of a health food shop.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean about just sort of coming up with random ideas. It doesn't make any sense for the plot. It's just to add a little stupid thing in. Yeah, I mean, that again, I see it so often. Even sort of working on scripts with my students, their script writing is very similar to this, where they just kind of, we'll just put that in. And I'm like, yeah, but we need to explain it. We need to tie it back into the plot. And they're like, oh no, it'll be fine. Like, they'll get it. I'm like, oh no, they really won't.
I mean, it's true. Like, again, a lot of the time people don't overanalyze plots and stuff. So they're perfectly happy with plot holes and issues and stuff. It's fine as long as it's visually interesting. But then when certain people watch it, they're just going to be like, oh, that's ridiculous. You can't have that. You can't have that.
Yeah,
so...
like us.
Yeah, I mean, if a podcast is done about a movie, they're going to find plot holes. It's just the way it is. But finding plot holes and continuity errors in movies and TV shows is a full-time job for some people. So, you've got to give them something.
I was going to say, well, it also shows how much you love the movie that you've gone to the trouble to look into it that detailed, that you find all of these holes, which is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because we love Only Fools
and
and
it's
Horses
fine,
so
and
much,
it's not
so.
always a criticism. Sometimes it's just for fun. So
Tom Stoppard don't have to put up with all this.
Tom Stoppard is a Czech-born British playwright and screenwriter. I wrote here, with so many credits to his name, I wouldn't know where to begin listing them. So, yeah. So that just to cover that. And then also we get in the scene the first mention of Charlton Heston, who does get mentioned several times. Joan Trotter in Rock and Chips actually does love Charlton Heston. She's like, she loves Hollywood and she loves old movies. And I think that's what they put in. Because it's a callback to all of these mentions, we get this one, and then we get the one that Rodney's middle name is Charlton. When Del says that that Rodney's middle name is because Joan was a big fan of Charlton Athletic, we think he's kidding, because I think when you actually look back to Rock and Chips, Joan definitely named Rodney after Charlton Heston because she loved Charlton Heston. So that's a joke that she loved Charlton Athletic, I think. And that's all the notes I had, apart from, yeah, of course, applause, because we love this scene so much.
Yeah.
We almost
Great
called
scene.
the podcast "There's a Rhino Loose in the City," didn't we? So
We did. It was one of the titles we thought
we
about.
thought it was a bit too niche, but
Yeah.
it would have been funny.
Especially since you say a lot of people don't like this episode.
Right.
Maybe it wouldn't have been a good choice.
And then,
so.
Heather thought she wanted to call it Trotter Watch, which is funny, of course.
Which is also another
But
niche
it's another episode that people don't like, so we ended up with a more overall name.
Okay, so the next scene takes place in the Chinese takeaway. Del is on the phone to the person who has the rhino.
Not sure whether we'll be wanting a rhino now.
We won't.
Del gets a bit pissy with Tony, the guy running the takeaway, because he's taking too long with their order. They continue to talk about Rodney's idea, and Albert and Del continue to be unhelpful and unsupportive. That's what I wrote. We find out that Mickey has all the film equipment from the art class. They've just given it to him to use and take out. And he's...
Down at town hall filming a wedding.
Rodney is angry because it would seem that Del is using Rodney's film to side hustle. What a surprise!
Yeah, I know.
Why not earn while you learn? That's what I say.
And to be fair, Del's got a point.
That's a good point.
I mean, there's no reason that they shouldn't do. I mean, later charging. I'll talk about that later when they charge people to be in the film. But yes, what they're doing now, actually, like going out and filming christenings and weddings, is not a bad thing. I think that's smart, actually.
Yeah, but making porn, not so smart.
Well, yes. There's bad things they do later, but for the weddings and the christenings and Mickey learning how to use the camera, I would say smart business. We find out Mickey is using tapes to record on that he stole from Boise, so that's just a little call to something that will happen later. And that he has lots of weddings and christenings to film at so he can learn how the camera works. So Del finally silences Rodney the usual way.
Here is your share.
I do not want it.
Oh, well, please yourself. Goes back in the bin.
All right, just this once. then.
Don't do me no favours, Rodney, will you, eh?
So here it is again, Rodney giving in because Del offers him money. All Rodney's morals just seem to go out the window as soon as there's some money involved. Boise and Marlene enter the Chinese takeaway mid-argument.
Them bloody tests I've had.
And what about all the bloody tests? Oh, good afternoon, Derek.
Del pinches Marlene's bum and asks about their potential baby when Marlene drops the news.
They've just discovered there's nothing wrong with me. It's him.
So we get some jokes about Boise being gay here, which doesn't really make sense from a conception standpoint. I mean, I assume that Del is implying that Boise can't get turned on by Marlene and hence cannot impregnate her.
I think, I mean, we talked about this earlier. This scene got complaints, and yes, it's if you just take it,
but not the gay slangs though. It's the Jaffa thing that got complaints.
No, well, yeah. So I don't know, and we'll come back to this again when we do Miami Twice. So I wrote here, this scene is the first time we hear Del use the term nufta, which I tried to look it up, and it says online that it's a blend. It came from a blend of Nance. That might be supposed to be nonce.
Nonce, oh God.
Nance, Nancy, and poofta. So
yeah,
I wrote that.
Nancy boy is like a term that was used in the past to describe gay men.
Yeah.
So maybe Nancy boy and puffed are obviously not very PC
I think
terms
it's
now,
nance,
but
yeah.
yes,
So
probably these two.
Those terms, and that...
Not nonce, because nonce means...
Yes,
PDS.
right. It does, yeah.
So-
I wrote that and I thought I'd typed it incorrectly, but no, I copied this off somewhere. So the term originated from that, but it's certainly considered derogatory now by today's standards.
Yes.
And of course, we know, I've never watched this on UK Gold. I assume it's cut. It's definitely cut on BritBox in Miami Twice. They cut all the Nufta references. So because I don't think it's not a PC term, but yeah, it never occurred to me when I was a kid that he's saying, "Oh, you're not gay, are you?" by any chance. That's just like he's just ribbing him. The complaints apparently came from the Jaffa thing.
Yeah, which I'll talk about in a minute, but yeah, I mean, he explains what Jaffa means. It's a reference to the oranges that have no seeds, right?
Right, so he's saying that he's infertile. But that actually is what Boise and Marlene were saying. They've just discovered there's nothing. So, I mean, we don't know because there's a million reasons why somebody can't have a child, but we assume that just means that Boise has, like a low sperm count or no sperm, right? So,
well, this is, just going on with the rest of the scene because this is what she says, right?
Yeah.
So Boise is angry with Marlene and then she makes it worse.
He's got what doctors call a low count.
Don't want to buy a calculator, do you, boy?
Well,
What's it mean? Nothing.
It means he's been firing more blanks than the territorials.
So Boise and Marlene have problems conceiving, basically, yeah, because Boise's swimmers are not doing the job correctly.
Right, but they do have a kid in the future, so yeah, he does have a low
Yes.
count. That just means it's harder. Yeah, that's the problem.
It's harder, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, this I mean, but again, I guess most people, including me, when I first saw this episode, I had no idea about this stuff. I guess a lot of people don't still, and I don't know much about it now either.
No, nor do I.
So
Really.
I guess, you know, but this is all play for laughs anyway. In this
Right,
scene.
it's
It's
supposed
to be taken seriously. So
that's what Sullivan said, yeah.
it's a way to emasculate Boise, isn't it? I mean, that's the whole purpose of this scene. So it's making fun of Boise. That's the whole reason to do it. So Boise and Marlene's food is ready. And she, I know that's from a different episode, but still. And she mentions that it's their 20th anniversary. So they've been married 20 years, my God.
Aww.
And she invites them along to the celebration. So that's really interesting to me. They've been married 20 years and they haven't gone for these tests earlier. I mean, they've been trying to get pregnant. We know they, wanted to adopt Anna's baby, but they haven't gone for any of these like fertility tests earlier than this.
Well, we talked about this before, I think, in Prussia with Love, right? That I said that, and you said that like you put in a pretty good explanation for why that might be, because they've constantly convinced Marlene that she's the problem, so she just kept going for tests, and she says they just discovered that it's him, which means it's possible that all the fertility tests so far have been Marlene, and then they finally were like, okay, let's test Boise, and then as soon as they tested Boise, they found out that is likely the reason. Because one thing I do know is that soaps and stuff on British TV make you think that you can get pregnant from a one-night stand all the time, but the truth is that it does take several years usually for couples, especially if they're in their late 30s and 40s, to conceive. So it's quite possible that there was nothing wrong with either of them, it was just taking time. So they just kept testing Marlene and they were like, okay, let's see, and they struggled, and then finally they were like, okay, let's test Boise, and then they were like, okay, he's got a low sperm count, so it's probably going to take even longer then, because we know they do conceive eventually. So, because I mean, it's a huge issue in today's society, and there's a good reason why people would have been upset by this. Because if you're struggling with this kind of thing, it can destroy your life. Like if you want to have children.
Oh.
So I'm guessing people who watched it were like, oh, it's really offensive. But like you say, Sullivan was trying to just make Boise the butt of a joke. He didn't really think about that. So yeah.
So just to finish off about the scene, so just as they're leaving, Marlene tries to get a role in Rodney's film.
Actually, someone once said that I had a promising career in films.
Yeah, then Talkie's come along and ruined it.
So a chance for Boise to get one in against Marlene there, just at the end. And after they leave, Del calls Boise a
Jaffa.
The Jaffa.
Yeah, seedless.
So again, it's explained what he's referring to. And even, I think as a kid, I didn't get it, but now I obviously would get that.
I thought it meant a Jaffa cake.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, probably something to do with Jaffa cakes.
I loved
because that's
Jaffa
all I knew
cakes,
what a Jaffa was. Oh, yeah, me too, back in the day. So Rodney is interested in Boise and Marlene's predicament about them being unable to conceive, and he thinks it will be a good idea for his film. He tries to describe the process of artificial insemination to Albert and Del, but it doesn't go down too well.
I wouldn't have known it, yeah?
The scene ends with Del's line.
Yeah, do you know what? I reckon in a few years' time, young married couple wanting to start a family, they won't go to the doctors. Nip down the road to B-Jams.
Which I had to look up, and it's a frozen food shop.
Right. I wrote that note too. Frozen food and appliance retailer in the 70s and 80s that revolutionized how people shop for food in the UK by making bulk buying frozen food a common practice. Which now makes sense, because I think when I was a kid, I associated that word with pajamas B-jam?
for some reason.
Why? Oh,
yeah, like PJs, pajamas. Yeah, PJs, pajamas.
Again, there's no way we would have known what that was when we were kids. No way. He just means because, like, it's frozen, right?
Yeah, it's frozen. Yeah, the eggs are frozen, and you go, yeah, now I understand. So that's all I had on that scene. Anything you want to add, dude?
So nothing we haven't already said, except for Tony, the Chinese takeaway owner, was played by Chua Ka-ju. Who, do you recognize him, dude? He's in one of the movies that you liked when you were a kid.
Oh, I do recognize him, actually, yes. But now you come to mention, I can't think what movie from
It's
there.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And he plays Chen. And I don't know who that is because I haven't seen the movie, but... I mean, I've seen it. But
do you know what? Temple of Doom actually is not one of my favorite. I liked Raiders of the Lost Ark because of the melting faces at the end.
Yeah. Okay, so he's in
out.
that. Yeah. So.
Okay.
And then, I just wanted to ask the listeners if anybody can tell us, because we haven't seen it in years or maybe ever. UK gold aired version of this scene. What gets cut, what doesn't? Do they cut Nufta? I assume they cut Nufta. Do they cut Jaffa? I want to know because I haven't got a cut version.
I mean, God, if you cut those out, there's literally no comeback when they find out that Boise has the problem medically. There's like no making fun of him because those two things would be cut.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder. But then we know that the cuts do not care. Like there's been cuts that make things not make sense, like the bullshit line. They cut things and they don't care if it makes sense. So let us know.
Very true.
And that's all I had.
So now we're back at Nelson Mandela, and Rodney is using the typewriter that Del gave him, and it looks excruciating. That's what I thought. Del comes in and Rodney tells him,
The T and the A are missing.
Oh, well, no problem, is it?
Well, it is if I want to write words like at.
How can a T and A being missing not be a problem?
I know. I just thought, how can you write anything without a T and an A? They are such important letters. I mean, they really, if you took the T and the A out of everything that I've written in the script here, it wouldn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. So Del starts talking about the impact that Rodney's upcoming movie is having on the local community, and he hands him a list of local actors and actresses. Rodney is shocked by how many there are, but Del reveals the reason he is getting all these people on board.
I can't afford to pay him a tenner a day.
No, they pay us a tenner a day.
So I put here on a serious note from someone that has been an actor, that is an actor, has been.
You are an actor.
Describe me.
You're a has-been.
I'm a has-been actor. That's a rotten trick that Del is pulling here, because having worked in the performing arts, this is one of the few professions where people are often asked to work for nothing, as Del is doing, or even pay for opportunities to get discovered. People always exploit people's desire to be on the stage, people's desire to be, I guess, famous, some people that enter this profession, but it's always exploited. There's always this like, oh, do you want to be in this show? Well, you can pay us and we'll let you be in it. Like there's always this kind of thing. I just think that's really annoying, because there's not many other professions that you can get away with charging people to work for you than there is in the acting industry. So I just think that's a bit rotten.
You're
what
right.
They do here. But again, a lot of actors and actresses, they have done this, they've paid to be in things, or they've, worked for free just to get the opportunity. But it's a shame that it still happens.
Sure.
So once again, Rodney is silenced by Del's money.
Look, all right, here is your share. All right, there you go, look.
And they're just extras.
Just extras, that's all.
So Del then gives him a list of businesses to mention in the film, and this list is just as long. So Rodney then goes into full pouting mode.
Bill, why are you doing this to me? I had high hopes when I started this project. Mr. Stevens said if it was good enough, he'd charter the National Film Theatre.
He's so good at changing his tone, Nick Lyndhurst, like for very different emotions. It's spot on. Like earlier in the story with the no.
Yeah.
If he were, he's a rhinoceros, a vegetarian. It's just great.
I gotta say that when we were
voice.
kids, I think we got a lot of inspiration from Nick Lyndhurst. Like when we were kids, about how to ham up our emotions. Like we watched these so often that I'm pretty sure when we were upset, we would be like, oh no, like we used.
Oh, that's why we all ended up the way we did.
Yeah, I know I did. I used to.
That's true.
I used to find Rodney so interesting, the way that he did all the different kid voices and so like like that reminds me of Fran.
Yeah,
because,
sorry, Fran.
Fran.
She's right.
But when Fran was a kid, she used to be like, no, like very like.
Yeah, I know. A know-it-all. The know-it-all voice had come out. I mean, to be fair, Mom does it as well. Mom has the patronising voice that she does when she's telling you something. Well, that's not a very good idea, is it?
No. I guess it might be kind of a British thing, but yeah.
Del doesn't get it, as usual. He only cares about the money, and as long as they're making money, he doesn't see the issue. I think this is clear. So Del heads out and Albert goes with him. This is so the flat can be empty for the next bit.
Right.
And as he's leaving, he bumps into Mickey and his camera. So Rodney finds out that Mickey is also in on the money-making scam with Del. So here, actually, I think Mickey would have been a much better suited younger brother for Del. Because obviously Mickey is a lot more like Del in personality. He's scheming, he likes to make money, he puts money above everything else. But on the flip side, I do think Del needs Rodney's conscience to keep him from going too far. Yeah. I think Del would go much further in ripping people off, do much bigger things if it weren't for Rodney always holding him back, but in a good way.
Well, yeah, so we talked about this in Healthy Competition, if you remember, because that's something that Patrick Murray said about the character of Mickey when he was first cast, he was actually a better suited younger brother to Del. But then we discussed, so the balance of Del's like scheming of Rodney's conscience is what makes the Trotters work. I mean, they don't always work that well, but it makes their relationship able to function, because you can't have two Del boys, because this is what happens. Look what Mickey does. He tries to start making money on the side and like start getting them in trouble. Whereas that would not be something that Rodney would do in good conscience. He might make a mistake, but he wouldn't go off on his own and sell to the Driscoll brothers without Del knowing about it. So it's like, this is a good example episode of why Mickey Pearce couldn't be Del's younger brother or partner. Yeah.
We see Amanda again from the first scene in the pub, and Rodney jumps back afraid when he sees her. Probably a joke about her hair, if I had to guess.
This is Amanda. Is it what?
I think they're making fun of her overall appearance, her clothes, her makeup, her hair. Yes, but I think a lot of people.
I think she's a very beautiful woman, actually.
Yeah, I mean nowadays, I don't know, because I think this is London, so surely there's a ton of people that looked like that in the 80s in London. But yes, I think they're making fun of her appearance. Yeah, there's no other way.
Yeah, I think about Marcus.
Yeah,
Irene's son. Yeah, he looked.
He had the big hair.
He could pick up something on his hair.
BBC Two, I think.
There we go. Yeah, that's it. Mickey gets Rodney to go and make them a cup of coffee. So this is him suggesting it, which is there's a reason. As soon as Rodney's out of the room, she takes off her coat to reveal a nurse's uniform, and Mickey starts filming her. Rodney pops back in the room to ask them how much sugar they want, and then he gets angry.
Mickey, could I have a moment of your time, please? You are not making any films in this flat. Do you understand? Both of you?
I don't know why Rodney didn't just throw them out. Why does he still make them a cup of coffee?
Well, the biggest question is, why are they making the film in the flat anyway?
Yes, I have that question as well. So, yeah, this whole thing needs some explaining to me.
Yeah.
So now we get, I think, is our first monologue of In Only Fools and Horses. Rodney in the kitchen on his own, talking to himself.
Oh.
I don't think we've had another moment like this where we've got a character monologuing alone in a room.
No. Is it monologue or soliloquy?
So monologue is to another character, and soliloquies to the audience. So because Rodney isn't speaking directly to the audience, I think this would be classed as a monologue.
But he is, though, isn't he? Because who else is he talking to? Oh, I see what you mean, because there is no audience.
The fourth wall. There is no audience. Yeah. So
I think
you have to break the fourth wall to do a soliloquy.
It's good that you point this out, actually, because it's now when you think about it, it's very weird. They don't really have characters talk to themselves, do they, at any other point? This is weird. No. Why does he talk to himself?
This is weird. Well, because he's got to cover up the part before, so he can be interrupted for Night Nurse, because that's the joke.
There's got to be a kicking
in. Yeah.
But it's unusual.
So,
yeah, it's very strange.
Deep breaths. Nice and easy does it.
Take one.
Night Nurse, take one.
So there are a few continuity errors in this scene. When the video is shown later, which I'll talk about from the filming angle. But for starters, why would Mickey shout that loudly when he knows Rodney will hear? Why was it so important that they film in the Trotter flat? You just mentioned that.
Yeah.
And why didn't they go into one of the other rooms if they were going to film? Because Rodney was making the coffee. All he had to do was come out. He would have seen it. It wouldn't have taken him long to make a cup of coffee. So why wouldn't they go into one of the other rooms where you might have been like, oh, they've gone, and not realise? That would have made more sense. And how long was this little movie supposed to be? Because Rodney was making a cup of coffee, which wouldn't take him more than 3 minutes at the most. So how long was he planning to film before Rodney came out with the coffee?
Yeah. I don't know, yeah.
Was it just her stripping, or was it going to be like more stuff? I mean, what was the deal?
Well, actually, yeah, if you think about how long Rodney's in there talking to himself, she actually stripped really quickly.
Yeah, really quickly.
Yeah.
So, yes, lots of questions about this. And I put Rodney comes out and Amanda is waving her bra in the air.
Oh, no, Mickey! No, get to put him back! Oh, bloody hell!
I have a lot of questions about what happened when Rodney left the room to go back into the kitchen as well. Because the video ends there when they show it later. But didn't Rodney come back out and, like, push them out the door? Like, why didn't Rodney just kick off and be like, I don't care that you're naked. Like, get out. I just told you to get out. Like, why does he look so shocked?
Well, why does
in
Mickey
that
want
part?
Rodney in the film as well?
Yeah, this is what I mean. This is just a very weird situation that I don't really understand. Even from a writing point of view, I don't understand why.
I think this is why everybody has issues with this episode, because there's so many unanswered questions and there's so much confusion as to why this was done the way it was. And I guess, yes, we'll never know the answers to this. But yes, I think we can all agree that it doesn't really make sense. And yeah, like there's so many questions that we just can't answer. Yeah, that's all I have to say, really. The only other note I had is that when Rodney storms back into the living room, you can see the mic, the boom mic, unless that's Mickey Pearce's boom mic.
Yes. Well, that would be one excuse that they could use for that being there.
But then Rodney would be like, why have you got a boom mic set up? Obviously, you are planning to make a movie.
Yes.
Oh, I also put
and also you'd have seen him bring it in with him as well when he had the camera.
Right, he doesn't bring it in.
Boom mic.
Also, I wrote that Rodney's trousers are really high, but I think they're high in a lot of scenes. But I think maybe they hammed it up a little bit for this scene to make him look really geeky and goofy. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, Nick Lyndhurst's physique kind of means he has to wear trousers that look like that. That's just kind of his body.
Yeah,
there's not much he can do.
I think they do
a
really great job of highlighting his like gangly, tall kind of appearance. So yes, that's all I had for that scene. We can move on.
So now we go to the Nag's Head, and the scene starts with Mickey directing a pose for the group.
Oh yeah,
which is a shot for Boycie Marlene's wedding and wedding anniversary. Sorry, and. It's clearly meant for us to think that he's directing a nude girl how to hold her boobs, isn't it?
Hold them up. That's it. Move them about a bit.
So, yeah, I did not get that at all when I was a kid, that was what that was implying at the beginning of that scene.
I don't think I got that either, but I might have. I don't remember getting it.
I mean, it would be very weird to direct someone who was holding their boobs in that way as well. Move them about.
I don't know. I've never seen a porn movie directed. It might be normal.
I don't know either. So I love that Del and Marlene are the ones who look like a couple in this. If you look closely, Del and Marlene are hugging in the middle and Boycie's separate.
Yeah, that's
really funny.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And Del and Rodney sit at a table, and Rodney's still angry with Mickey from before. And Del slips him some more money for the third time.
There is your share, all right?
I don't like this, Del. You know I don't like this.
I know.
And do something, Rodney.
Yeah.
Do something.
Nah.
So, yeah, I mean, at this point, it's gone too far, which we find out during the course of this scene.
Yeah.
So Mike says they're slipping into the back room, and all the men head in there, which, again, so weird at an anniversary. Like, why wouldn't Marlene be like, oh, it's our wedding anniversary. Where are you all going, boys? Into the back room to watch porn?
Yeah.
On our wedding anniversary?
Let us know if this
weird.
was a thing, because I wrote that too. Was this a thing? Screening amateur porn at your 20th anniversary party? I want to know if it's normal at all, even if it was a thing that men used to do, like slip into the back, watch a professional porn movie. I don't know.
I mean, I think that was probably a thing, but yeah, not at anniversaries, I wouldn't have thought. Unless that's like the gift that you give on your 20th.
I don't know. Maybe it is. They all seem like they're pretty, like they know what's going on, and there's all little chairs set up. It's like a little screening. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to know.
Very peculiar. No, I agree. So we find out that Mike is going to be in Rodney's film. And just before they go into the back room, Rodney is stopped by the vicar, someone we haven't actually met yet. And we get a call back to the previous joke about Boycie and Marlene being unable to conceive.
Oh, really? I heard that Boycie was a Jaffa.
So I wonder if John Sullivan was particularly proud of this joke, because he literally repeated the exact same joke later in the episode.
I mean, I think he liked it, because it's like, it's funny or whatever, in a, if you can take it as a joke way. Just like anybody, if you're affected by it, you're not going to find it funny, are you? Let's face it.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, maybe that's why it got more complaints, because people maybe, like, it got skipped over when it was said once, but because it was called back to later on, everyone was like, oh, right, I hate that joke.
Right. And so in this instance, it'd be very easy to cut, because they could just cut this entire exchange where Rodney's like, they decided against starting a family. Also, we already know that they received a ton of letters, like Sue Holderness received a ton of letters from women unable to conceive. So we know that viewers of the show were female and, you know, focusing on the fact that they were emotionally involved in the infertility storyline. So we know that already.
So yeah, dude, I assume you know who the vicar was played by.
Yeah, so you said it's the first time we've seen him, but it's not. If you remember, he was the man in Healthy Competition that says, you bought this, son.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yes, so this is his second appearance, but now he's the vicar. And apparently he's in Sleepless and Peckham, in the scene with the Boyce anniversary party again, but they don't feature him on the scene.
Well, there's a lot of people in the pub in that episode when that happens.
And then
so
I think
maybe he's just background.
A couple of important notes here on the because a lot of people like to point this out that Mike and Trigger, or should I say Ken MacDonald and Roger Lloyd Pack, do famous movie quotes here, and
Yes.
but I looked it up, and both of these are misquotes, but they're common misquotes. Apparently, Mike's impression of Humphrey Bogart from Casablanca, he's saying, of all the bars in all the world.
Wasn't all the world you had to walk into.
That is a misquote. So the correct quote is, of all the gin joints in all the towns,
in all the
world,
Oh, yeah.
she walks into mine. But everybody says that wrong. So it's not just Mike saying it wrong. And then "You Dirty Rat" is famously attributed to James Cagney, but he never actually said it. The line is a misquote of a scene from his 1932 film Taxi, where he says, "Come out and take it, you dirty, yellow-bellied rat, or I'll give it to you through the door." So it's such a common misquote, again, that nobody knows or nobody cares. But just in both cases, the misquote.
I was going to say, it's interesting you should say that, because I wrote down a note that I did not understand what Trigger said for his quote. I thought he said, "You Johnny Rad."
Well, I didn't.
And I had no idea what that was from.
Yes,
so that was really interesting.
I didn't get it as a kid. I only know now. But yes, I didn't.
I didn't know. I don't even know now. So I said I was literally about to ask you what it was. So it's interesting you just said that.
Well, it's funny they bring up James Cagney again. He talks about James Cagney in Wanted, doesn't he? Where he does all the quote, "Look, I'm in the tank room, Ma." So James Cagney again. But yes, both misquotes, both common misquotes.
Actually, I have a trivia question that I would be curious to know if you know the answer to, because I'm trying to figure out the answer now. How many vicars and reverends do we meet in the course of Only Fools and Horses?
Oh, quite a lot, yeah. Well, I can think of 4 off the top of my head, because there's the Frog's Legacy, there's Miami Twice. Oh, there's the Reverend that marries Cassandra and Rodney.
Yeah, Miracle of Peckham, The Funeral, this guy. Lots, right, throughout the course. So yeah, if anyone has got the answer to that, then you can list it in the comments.
I can try and do a summary for the Series 5 overview of all vicars.
The vicar's summary.
Vicar count.
Watch.
Vicar watch.
The vicar, before we leave for the back room, tells Rodney that Dell has given him a part in the film as well, pretty much.
All right.
So Rodney goes into the back room where we can see a movie is about to be screened. So as I said, they are screaming porn in the back room at a pub at a 20-year anniversary celebration. As soon as Rodney enters, Trigger does an impersonation.
You dirty rat!
Oh, this is getting bloody stupid.
So Boise announces that the film they are about to watch is called
Night Nurse.
And Rodney looks terrified as soon as he hears the name of the movie. But why doesn't he leave then? I don't know. There is a slow pan across the Trotter flat for the beginning of the movie, and Dell doesn't recognize it. I know you're going to bring that up as well, but yes, it's insane that Dell would not recognize his own flat, especially when Boise makes the joke.
Where do they get these grotty flats to film in?
Yeah, it's got all of his personal belongings and stuff.
And the bar and everything is curtains. I mean, it's curtains. Come on, he's never changed them. He would know. So I'm fairly certain that Rodney's monologue in the kitchen did not take long enough for Mickey to film all of that footage.
No.
The panning across the room. Now, here's where the continuity issue really bothers me. The camera is set up facing the door, right? The kitchen door, which is the same angle we see when Rodney comes out. And Mickey is using a handheld camera. He doesn't have a tripod or anything with him, so he's holding the camera. Now, when we get to the part where Rodney comes out, Rodney speaks to Mickey, who is off to the left-hand side towards Albert's bedroom door, but the camera is still facing the door. So how was that camera there and Mickey on the other side of the room? This really bothers me. And also, if you're making a porn film, I know you want a little bit of titillation and a build-up, but would you not be filming her nude, not her bra hanging in the screen?
Yeah, and not Rodney.
Yeah, and not Rodney. Why would you leave that in if you edited it? I mean, I know that these are low-budget films, but come on, Mickey would have known that Rodney walked out in the middle of the film. If there was someone watching this, sorry to be graphic, jerking off, and they got to that bit, and then Rodney came out, that would completely ruin the film for them, I'm sure. So it just seems a little bit ridiculous that they would have not scrapped the whole movie, or Mickey would have not have refilmed the movie before they sent it to Boise. Like, Mickey would have known that Rodney was in it. It just seems ridiculous, this entire premise.
This is the scene that everybody pulls to pieces, and I understand, and I back up everything you've said, and I have no explanation for any of it. There's also the reason, like, overall, you could think, because Mickey's not in the room at this point, right? He's not there. Does he come in the room?
Oh, no. Mickey's not
Mickey
there.
wouldn't have done that either, because he knew that he would get in trouble. Dell and Rodney are going to see it. So, and he's going to see Rodney. So
yes, exactly.
None
it makes
of it.
No sense.
None of it makes sense, and I totally get like everybody's criticisms and this scene is the problem. Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough.
Yeah. So at the end of the scene, Del is furious, but Rodney has already snuck out. And again, unbelievable that nobody stopped Rodney when he was leaving, because he'd been seen already and then he started to leave and they're all staring at the screen and Rodney's literally just off to the right. The first thing you would have done is look at Rodney when you saw him on the screen. So that also makes no sense.
Right.
And to the final scene. So we begin the scene with Rodney being pinned up against the wall by Del, who is holding what I assume to be the night nurse video in his other hand. Del is furious.
Boyce's not the one that's worrying me, it's his partners that are giving me grief. Do you know he's backing him behind this? Only the Driscoll brothers, that's all. Have you heard of them?
No.
No. Well, let's hope they haven't heard of you.
The first mention of the Driscoll brothers, as Jenny said, but here Rodney says he hasn't heard of them.
Yeah.
But when Albert asks about them in The Frog's Legacy, he acts like he knows them quite well.
Right.
He even describes them. Not Del. That's Rodney describing them.
Yeah, that's the continuity issue for sure. Because he sounds like he knows them pretty well as well by that point.
Yeah, because when Del says, I went to see it, and he goes, you went to see the Driscoll brothers? Oh, they ain't great blokes, Hank. Like, and he describes them.
There's like a year between that. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's a chance that he met them or saw them in between this. But I don't know. It also seems a bit weird to me. And I think I said this before about another character, but I can't remember who it was. I feel like Rodney would know everyone Del knows.
Yeah. Especially if they're infamous.
Notorious people. Yeah, exactly. Like the Driscoll brothers. Yeah. So, yeah, I just kind of, it doesn't make sense. So as Del... it doesn't make
Nothing
sense.
makes sense in this episode.
No, I know. I'm so glad I was a kid and didn't analyze any of this stuff.
Me too.
It was nice those days. So as Del leaves the room here to go and get rid of the tape, he says he's going to flush it down the bog, which would not be very good for the bog.
That's a bad idea.
To do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So as Del leaves the room, Mickey enters with a group of porn stars, which is, let's face it, what they are. And was he just going to make another porn film in the middle of the day in the Trotter flat? I mean... he had like 3 of them with him. Was he actually going to like film like 3 people having sex in the flat?
What's he doing? Yeah.
What is he doing? Exactly. This is insane. So Del comes out and he chases Mickey and the porn stars out of the flat. And the phone rings and we get a conversation between Rodney and Mr. Stevens, who we've been hearing about throughout the entire episode, but we haven't met and we don't ever get to meet. And he's talking to Rodney about the script that Rodney has submitted. Long story short, in the end, we find out that Rodney did, in fact, use Del's idea after all.
No, that's no problem, because my brother knows where he can get us a rhino. Yeah.
And the episode ends.
Well, so yeah, a couple things to point out. Number one, Del's anger towards Rodney is completely unjustified because Rodney has done absolutely nothing wrong. He was hanging out at home. He got roped into that porn movie. He didn't know what it was for, what it was about, but he tried to put a stop to it. And the whole reason this thing started was because Del let Mickey run rogue with that camera. So Del being angry at Rodney makes absolutely no sense. The anger is towards Mickey, and we see that at the end, but it seems like he's angry at Rodney at first. And then like another massive plot hole that I don't think you've mentioned yet, unless I miss it, is because Mickey says in the scene when he comes in to talk to Rodney to film that he knows where Boise sells the film, so he's making his own to sell off the back of that. So he's screwing Boise over. So in that case, why is Boise screening Mickey's movie? A lot of people have pointed that out as well on forums and stuff, that it doesn't make sense because in theory, Mickey is selling directly to the Driscoll brothers. So he's sidestepping Boise.
But yeah, so the ending of this is fine.
The ending's fine. At least it go back to a favourite scene in the ending.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's, if I would have absolutely loved to have seen some of that movie getting made. That's my biggest regret for this episode, that we didn't get to see the film actually being done.
Right.
Because that would have been great. Okay, so if there's nothing else, let's move on to our awards segment.
What are you on about? I won!
Okay, so as always, we have 3 awards to announce this week, and we will start with Plonker of the Week.
Und Plonker, yeah?
There's a lot of plonkers this week, so let's see what happens. So for Plonker of the Week, we each nominate a plonker, and then we discuss and decide who wins. Dude, who's your nomination for Plonker of the Week?
I am denied about this, as I'm sure you did, but I'm going to go with Mickey Pearce, because filming porn in someone else's flat without asking them is disgusting.
Yeah. Mickey Pearce is who I nominated too, in this case, because he also, it doesn't make sense why he chose the Trotter flat, of all people, to mess with Del. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
There are some,
but then Rodney's his friend, so maybe he thought he could get away with it, which he did, to be fair. I mean, Rodney was a pushover and kind of, he tried to stop him, but he didn't do a very good job.
I think we'd agree on that. An honourable mention for Del for throwing the indictment down the toilet. I mean, the chute, not the chute. The video went down the toilet.
He threw the porn film down the toilet. Get it right, dude.
All right, so
Okay, so
Mickey Pearce is Plonker of the Week.
That's a joke, isn't it? I remember you said something funny a couple of years ago.
And this week, Heather will award Best Line of the episode. So, dude, what have you chosen for Best Line of the episode?
honestly, I chose the line that I think sums up the best scene in this episode, which is, "Oh, this is something else. A rhinoceros has escaped from the zoo. There are 300 dead bodies covered in rhinoceros footprints. There's a lock-up garage 2.5 foot deep in rhinoceros crap, and Charlton Heston suspects the butler."
Yeah. I agree. I think Best Line and Best Moment are kind of same this week because I was tasked with awarding Best Moment, but it has to just be that scene. And I don't know if I can pick a Best Moment, but that scene, and then, yeah, like Heather said, that any line, you can choose any line.
Yeah.
And we already
from that
probably
scene.
played them all when we went over that scene. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. So, yeah, I mean, there's another memorable moment, obviously, from this episode is the night nurse,
Yeah.
take one. Like, most people get that quote, but as we've just said, we wouldn't pick it as the best moment, more the most confusing moment of the episode.
No.
I think we would choose
I
that
mean,
as.
yeah, some people would argue that you could scrap the whole episode and just have the rhino loose in the city as a short and it would be just as good. And you're probably right.
Yeah,
but
agree.
Unless you loved it when you were kids like we did.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If there's nothing else, then drink up, we're leaving.
Okay, so that about wraps it up for this week. Join us next week when we'll be discussing Series 5, Episode 6, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Until then.
Sunrise come every morning.
Lighting up the ground all around.
Au revoir, listeners. If you like what you hear and want to contact us, you can email us at longlivehooky street podcast@gmail.com. All one word, no spaces. Bonjour.